Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The air was thick with the sweet scent of alien flora, a mix of colors shimmering under the distant light of twin suns. The landscape was an intriguing tapestry of towering crystalline structures and lush greenery, untouched by time. Amidst this beauty, half buried in the soil of centuries, lay the ancient figure of Grace, a being both ethereal and enigmatic. Centuries had passed since the three swords were buried in her chest, and with each passing year, the tales of her grand heritage faded into forgotten whispers. Her vibrant skin, once radiant, now lay pale and still, like a moonlit dream, constrained by the weight of an ancient curse, bound to the very blades that imprisoned her soul. Each sword was a shard of her history, one of love, one of betrayal, and the last of sacrifice. On an entirely different world, a young archaeologist named Mark discovered an artifact map deep within the dusty archives of an old museum. His heart raced as he recognized the symbols that hinted at something extraordinary off the planet. With a determination fueling his every breath, Mark set off for the distant alien world. His pulse quickened with every step into the unknown, fueled by dreams of discovering the relics of an ancient civilization. The thrill of adventure beckoned him forward. As Mark's spacecraft cut through the azure sky, he held tightly to the map. The adventure had begun, but he had no inkling of the significance behind this journey. Nor did he know that the fate of an ancient being awaited his arrival. When Mark finally arrived on the alien planet, he was met with an awe-inspiring sight. The air thrummed with a quiet energy, a connection that transcended the physical world. He made his way through thick foliage, the sounds of alien creatures a melody in the background, until he stumbled upon a clearing. There in the center was a stone altar, surrounded by markings that filled the ground, a circle of ancient runes leading him to the unmistakable site of Grace. Kneeling before her, Mark felt a compelling urge to touch the hilt of the nearest sword. He could hardly fathom the weight of her slumber, the stories intertwined within her form. As he grasped the handle, a flash of light erupted, illuminating the clearing. The air shuddered with ancient magic as the first sword detached from Grace's chest, followed by the second, and then the third. Each sword pulled free with a cry that reverberated through the fabric of reality itself. Grace gasped, her eyes fluttering open to reveal a vibrant brilliance that had been dormant for centuries. Pain coursed through her. The swords had entwined with her essence. Fear and anger coursed as she took in the sight of the intruder. "What have you done?" Grace's voice was a melody held hostage by anger and desperation. Mark stepped back, heart pounding as adrenaline surged through his veins. I didn't mean to," he stammered, taking in the beauty and danger of the radiant being before him. "I was just trying to—" "Leave," she commanded, her voice a mixture of fury and sorrow as she rose from the altar, ethereal energy crackling around her. "You've unleashed a curse upon us all." In that moment of peril, Mark could hardly fathom her pain. But as his gaze held hers, a mixture of conflict and bewilderment, hesitantly, he withdrew his hand from the swords that had been left, realizing that he had derailed more than just a moment in time. He had accidentally set free an ancient sorrow. As Grace's emotions wrestled with her new reality, she felt a strange tug within her heart, a flicker of something unexpected, a feeling of vulnerability and an urgency to protect herself from this human who had awakened her. But amid the chaos, something deep within her sensed potential. "Why should I trust you?" she finally whispered, her tone shifting to a fragile uncertainty. Mark swallowed hard, the weight of her despair crashing down on him. "I came here seeking answers. Perhaps together we can find a way to change the fate that binds us," he offered, unsure whether his words could breach the chasm that lay between them. In the depths of her oceanic eyes, a spark of curiosity bloomed. Though she felt fury, she could not ignore the connection and curiosity that flared to life with their shared gaze. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Grace stood before Mark, her newly freed form shimmering with latent power. Despite the intense anger that surged through her, a flicker of uncertainty emerged. She sensed something different about this human, something that urged her to reconsider her instinct to flee. Answers, Grace scoffed, though her voice lacked the sharp edge of her earlier fury. What can you, a mere human, possibly understand about the burdens I carry? Mark felt the weight of her words press against him, each syllable a reminder of the uncharted territory he had stumbled into. I may be human, but I'm here because I want to understand. You're not just a story in a book, you're real. I have been trapped here for centuries, Mark. Centuries of pain and solitude. Grace replied, stepping closer, a mixture of frustration and intrigue in her voice. What could a fleeting moment in your life possibly hope to change? I don't know, he admitted, his heart racing. But I believe that together, we can figure this out. You're free now. What do you want to do? Grace's expression softened at the vulnerability in his eyes. It was a daring question. For centuries, she had been defined by the curse of the swords, by the tales of her people woven through the fabric of time. Now free yet chains still heavy upon her shoulders, her mind raced with possibilities that twisted like vines in her heart. The silence stretched between them, a palpable barrier where emotions flickered in and out like stars in a night sky. The instinct to trust this stranger battled against her need to protect herself from the dangers that lay ahead. Perhaps she hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. You could help me track down the swords again. They are bound to me. They belong to me. Mark nodded, encouragement lighting up his features. I can help, but we need to move quickly. There may be others who seek the swords. We have to figure out the history behind them before it's too late. Grace narrowed her eyes, assessing him. Others, he nodded, explaining that there might be those who feared her power and sought to reclaim the swords for their own dark purposes. The shadows of the past loomed over them, a weight not easily shrugged off. All right, she finally said, a determination dawning in her voice. If we're to embark on this perilous path together, I need to know that you can keep up. And in that moment, she recalled the strength that flowed through her, one that could contend with the trials ahead. With each step deeper into the woods, Grace and Mark began to push aside the debris of their pasts. Mark marveled at the way Grace commanded the elements, flowers blooming with every step she took, light dancing through the trees in response to her presence. Yet he noticed shadows creeping in, the remnants of the swords still tethered to her essence. Tell me about the swords, he prompted as they moved forward, sensing that exploring her past was key to their journey. Grace clenched her fists, the intricate designs of her skin shifting as the memories came tumbling back. The first sword, it was forged from the tears of my beloved, who sacrificed himself to protect our people. I had to bury it deep within my heart, but it left me hollow. The second betrayal was forged from the ambition and greed of a former ally. It took everything from me. And the last sword was created in the moment of my own sacrifice. Mark listened intently, feeling stirring in him that he had never expected. You carry their stories with you. We can uncover the truth. Together, he encouraged, hoping to ease the heaviness in her words. But Grace remained haunted by her past, a darkness hovering ever so slightly beneath her surface. Even if I find them, will it change anything? Am I destined to repeat the cycle? We'll face it together, Mark said again, and this time his voice held a strength that resonated. I promise, we'll uncover the truth, break the cycle, and free you from your burdens. Taking a deep breath, Grace allowed a glimmer of hope to ignite within her. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but as they ventured deeper into the heart of the unknown, the bond between them began to forge itself, a reluctant alliance wrapped in the promise of freedom, redemption, and perhaps something more. As they continued their journey, Grace found herself stealing glances at Mark, this curious human who had unknowingly pulled her from centuries of slumber. His determination inspired a flicker of something within her, a tiny spark of hope amidst the tumult of her past. But amidst their growth, the shadows were creeping closer, lingering just out of sight, a reminder that their actions would soon attract attention, both ancient and modern. As night descended upon the alien world, the landscape shifted dramatically, bathed in the soft glow of bioluminescent plants. The air buzzed with activity as nocturnal creatures emerged, their calls echoing through the vibrant underbrush. Grace and Mark set up a temporary camp beneath a massive tree, its twisting roots forming a natural shelter. Mark lit a small fire, the flames dancing and crackling, casting warm light against the darkening sky. He looked over at Grace, who stood at the edge of their campsite, her silhouette a striking contrast against the luminous backdrop. She appeared more at ease in the beauty of the night, yet a palpable tension hung around her, an unspoken weight of the past clinging to her like shadows. "Are you all right?" he asked, breaking the silence that had settled between them. Grace turned, her eyes capturing the flame's glow as her expression wavered between pensive and fierce. "I am free, but the past has a way of haunting the present," she replied, her voice a mix of vulnerability and defiance. "The swords were just the beginning. They hold more than just power. They hold memories of my people, secrets I may not be ready to face." Mark nodded, understanding the complexity of her emotions. "You don't have to do it alone, Grace. Whatever comes, we'll handle it together. We'll uncover the truth." She took a moment to absorb his words. The flicker of camaraderie between them sparked something unexpected, a fragile trust slowly weaving itself into the fabric of their bond. Just as Mark prepared to take a seat next to her, a rustling sound broke the stillness of the night. Grace's instincts flared, her body tensing as the hairs on her arms stood on end. "Something's coming." Mark turned, eyes scanning the dense foliage. "What is it?" Through the shadows, figures emerged, 3 cloaked beings, their presence exuding an aura of menace. Grace's heart raced, a mix of recognition and dread washing over her. "It can't be," she murmured, sharp memories flooding back. They were the last remnants of her people, those who had betrayed her to seize power, the ones who had cast her into despair. "Show yourself, Grace," one of the figures demanded, his voice reverberating with authority. "You have awakened the swords, and you shall pay the price." Mark stepped in front of Grace, protective instincts igniting. "Back off," he commanded, trying to project confidence despite the fear coursing through him. Grace's heart raced as she stepped beside him, the embers of their campfire reflecting in her determined gaze. "I'm no longer bound by your darkness. I am free." The figure laughed, a chilling sound echoing through the night. "Free? You are nothing more than a pawn in the game we've played for centuries. You are unwise to believe you can escape the shadows of your past." Mark turned to Grace, concern flickering in his eyes. "What do they want?" "They want to reclaim the swords, to control what they lost," she explained quietly, feeling a mix of anger and fear swelling inside her. "They think they can bend me to their will once more." "Not while I'm here," Mark responded, voice steady. "We're not backing down." The cloaked figures advanced, their silhouettes a threatening wave against the backdrop of the luminescent plants. As they closed in, Grace felt her power surge in response to their presence, an instinctual call echoing through her. "No!" she shouted, holding up her hand as an ethereal glow began to envelop her. "You will not have me again." With the force of her emotions crashing around her, Grace unleashed a pulse of energy. The air rippled, sending the cloaked figures stumbling back, their expressions shifting from confidence to shock. Mark watched in awe as the energy swirled around Grace, illuminating her for a brief moment. The goddess unshackled from her chains, but with power came a price. She felt faint as the weight of her history threatened to overwhelm her. "Grace!" Mark shouted, catching her as she swayed. "We need to get out of here." With a fierce resolve, she steadied herself, the shadows swirling around them. "No, they want the blades, Mark. We have to stand our ground or we may never be free." As the enemies regrouped, their figures shifted and shook off Grace's energy like water. The leader grinned beneath his hood, readying himself for another affront. "You are strong, Grace, but strength alone will not save you. Submitting to our power will bring you freedom." "Freedom is not born from submission," Mark roared, deflecting their words. He stepped up alongside Grace, resolute in their shared resistance against the forces that sought to control her. We choose our own fate. The confrontation intensified, shadows clashing against the luminous beauty surrounding them. Grace felt the rush of energy, fear, anger, hope pulsing through her. This was not merely a battle for her past, it was a fight for her future. With every ounce of power surging within her, Grace summoned the elemental forces of her world, merging them with her own essence. The fire in the camp flickered in response, the winds began to swirl, and the plants pulsed with life. "Let's show them what freedom truly means," Grace declared, the tempest rising around them. Together, they faced the shadows, two souls intertwined as they prepared to uncover the truth, not just for Grace, but for all who had been bound by fear and despair. The energy around Grace surged, feeding off her emotions as the storm she had summoned whipped through the clearing. It twisted and roared like a living being, a testament to her pain and her strength. The cloaked figures reeled back, their confidence shattered as they realized the might of the force they were contending with. "Hold steady," Mark shouted over the cacophony, positioning himself protectively beside Grace. "We'll face this together." The leader of the adversaries, regaining his footing, snarled from beneath his hood. "You think you can harness the elements? We were born of shadows. We will not be extinguished by a mere flicker." With a wave of his hand, he motioned to his companions, who mirrored his intentions. They channeled a dark energy, a pitch-black cloud moving toward Grace and Mark. The air thickened, a palpable tension that intensified around them. "Stay close," Grace warned, summoning a barrier of shimmering light to encompass them. The dark energy collided with her shield, a battle of two opposing forces swirling in their midst. The impact sent ripples through the air, shaking the very ground they stood on. As the shadows pressed against the barrier, Mark felt a rush of determination. "Grace, we can't let them overwhelm us. Find the source of their energy." "Yes." Grace focused her energy, feeling for the essence of the dark figures. She realized that beneath their menacing presence lay remnants of despair, fear, and betrayal that still echoed from ages past. She had to break through that darkness. With a deliberate grace, she concentrated, weaving her aura around them, infusing it with warmth and empathy. "I know your pain," she called out, her voice strong despite the pressure. "We've all felt the weight of lost battles and buried truths. Together, we have the power to heal." Their adversaries faltered, confusion sparking where there had been anger. For a moment, the darkness wavered. "Don't listen to her," the leader shouted, his voice fissured with fear. "She seeks to manipulate you." "I seek to free us all," Grace declared, heart pounding, eyes ablaze with fervor. "Let go of the chains of the past. We can forge a new future together." As if awakened from a slumber, the shadows paused. Mark sensed the shift. He could feel the tension morphing, uncertainty creeping into the hearts of their foes. They grasped at the threads of darkness that had held them hostage for so long, teetering on the edge of making a choice. "Take their power, Grace," Mark urged, feeling the potential of their moment. "You can help them see." Summoning her courage, Grace reached out. "What we feared was the very thing that bound us. We can redefine our destiny together." With one final push, she channeled her energy outward, intertwining it with the dark forces. Light met shadow, weaving a tapestry of healing that enveloped the clearing. The air hummed with resonant emotion, loss, hope, and the freedom to choose anew. Power cascaded like a waterfall, pouring over Grace and Mark, filling the space with luminous energy. Each whisper from the shadows was a flicker of memory, a reminder of their shared past, a connection that transcended time. As the storm subsided, the cloaked figures hesitated, their expressions drifting from anger to contemplation. The leader gritted his teeth as the light folded around him, illuminating the lines of regret etched in his features. He began, words faltering under the weight of realization. "We didn't see it before. We were blinded by ambition." "Choose freedom," Grace urged softly, the warmth of her essence suffusing the air. "Together we can rebuild what was lost." In that moment, the darkness receded, replaced by flickers of light. The leader began to lower his hood, revealing a face weathered by sorrow, a reflection of Grace's own struggle. Perhaps there is another way. Mark and Grace exchanged glances, a subtle understanding transferring between them. Slowly, the cloaked figures dropped their defenses, realizing that they, too, were shackled by the weight of the past. Surrounded by the light of possibility, they began to step forward, shedding their cloaks of darkness. The leader approached Grace, his voice trembling. "What is it that you call us to do?" "To rise beyond our fears," Grace replied, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "To unite and transform our lives into a force that transcends our history." As the confrontation faded, the dark figures became more tangible, shedding their menacing exterior for a renewed purpose. A mutual understanding began to unfold, an alliance forged not from shadows, but from shared wishes. Mark grasped Grace's hand, squeezing it tight in affirmation. "You did it, Grace. You broke the cycle." But as the dust settled and the fleeting remnants of darkness lingered, a new resolve took hold. They all understood that this was only the beginning. Grace's heart raced with the fire of a connection reborn, knowing that her destiny was still intertwined with Mark's and now with those who had once sought her downfall. With a newfound purpose, they ventured forward into the night, stepping into the realm of limitless possibilities. The stars above twinkled like guiding beacons, illuminating their path, a testament to hope and the freedom that lay ahead. The night air was thick with anticipation as Grace, Mark, and the former adversaries forged a tentative alliance. While they had all faced their demons, another layer of connection began to bloom amidst the darkness, a connection that twinkled like the distant stars above. As they made their way through the forest, Grace felt a shifting energy between her and Mark, an unspoken bond growing stronger with every passing moment. His steadfastness, his unwavering belief in her, stirred something deep within her, a longing she had buried for too long. They made camp once again, and after sharing tales of their pasts, a comfortable silence settled over them. Under the twilight sky, the glow from the bioluminescent plants painted their surroundings in hues of azure and green. Mark glanced over at Grace, their eyes meeting in a moment that felt electric. "You were incredible back there," he said, his voice low and sincere. "You brought them back from the brink." Grace could feel heat rising to her cheeks at the praise, but it was more than that. "You stood by me," she replied softly. "We did this together." The weight of their pasts transformed into something new, something more profound as Grace's heart raced. In that quiet intimacy, she felt the boundary between them dissolve, revealing an undeniable pull. "Mark," she breathed, her voice tinged with a mix of vulnerability and urgency. "What you offered me in that moment, it awakened something I thought had long been lost." He shifted closer, the warmth of his body near hers sending shivers down her spine. "I feel it too, Grace. This connection between us, it's undeniable." Emboldened by a blend of their shared journey and newfound openness, Mark placed a hand on her cheek. The contact ignited a spark as he leaned in, their breaths mingling in the charged air. "Can we dare to explore this?" he whispered, his eyes searching hers for permission. "Can we embrace what lies between us?" In that heartbeat, Grace understood, a cosmic pull drawing them together, echoing the primal instincts that had long been suppressed. "Yes," she whispered back, her heartbeat a syncopated rhythm matching the intensity of the moment. Their lips met, a gentle exploration at first, igniting an inferno of passion. The kiss deepened as they surrendered to the connection swirling around them, a mating of souls that promised solace and strength. Every lingering doubt melted away, eclipsed by the realization that they were fully present with one another, the pain of their pasts beginning to dissolve. As they pulled away, breathless and wide-eyed, Grace felt a rush of warmth cascading through her, one that spoke of unity and possibility. "You and I were drawn to each other in ways we can't understand, but it feels right." Mark's gaze intensified as he took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Together, we can face anything. What we have is powerful and real." Just then, the warmth of their connection shimmered, drawing the attention of their allies nearby. They exchanged wary glances, but quickly averted their eyes, respecting the intimacy blossoming between Grace and Mark. Yet, as they settled back into their camp, Grace sensed the energies shifting around them. The mating dance of souls was more than physical. It intertwined their destinies, sealing their bond as allies, lovers, and partners in the challenges that lay ahead. In that sacred moment, they not only embraced their feelings, but also the challenges yet to come, knowing that together, they would awaken more than just their physical desires. They would ignite the fight for their freedom and for the future of all those bound by shadows. With newfound resolve sparked by their connection, Grace and Mark rose as leaders among their allies, their energies intertwined and charged with purpose. The darkness no longer loomed over them. It had transformed into a guiding light for the battles ahead. The following days were a whirlwind of planning and preparation. Grace worked tirelessly with the reformed adversaries, uniting their strengths and histories to forge a pact against the evils they would face. Mark stood beside her, his unwavering support proving invaluable as they strategized their next move. One night, as they gathered around the fire, Grace felt a deeper bond grow stronger amongst their group. "Together, we can reclaim what was lost," she declared, her voice confident. "We must locate the swords before our enemies do. They wield power not merely as weapons, but as a tether to our pasts." Their allies nodded, determination igniting fiery glances exchanged among them. United, they made their way to ancient ruins where the swords were believed to be hidden. The journey was fraught with challenges and tests of loyalty, each step strengthening the network of trust and love blossoming within their alliance. And in each struggle, Grace found solace in Mark's presence, their kisses and soft touches becoming a sanctuary amidst the chaos. Finally, they arrived at the crumbling remnants of a temple, the air thick with memories. Inside, the swords rested upon a pedestal, glowing faintly in the dim light. Grace felt the pull of their energy, a tangible connection that intertwining with her very essence. "They were never just weapons, they were echoes of our history," she murmured, stepping closer to the blades. Mark took her hand, squeezing gently. "You have the power to claim them." As she reached out to grasp the hilt of the first sword, a surge of energy surged through her, memories flooding her mind. She embraced the past, allowing herself to feel every pain, every joy, while channeling it into a singular purpose, freedom. Soon, the other allies joined in, each touching a sword. A powerful wave of energy emanated from their union, engulfing the temple in a brilliant light. The shadows that had once haunted their pasts receded, replaced by a sense of liberation. "We've done it! Together!" Mark beamed, pride radiating from his every word. Grace glowed with a newfound light, a sense of clarity washing over her. "Together, we reclaim our destinies." Yet, as they emerged from the temple, a figure awaited them, the leader of their former adversaries, a familiar face now worn with regret. "You may have awakened the swords, but you will never be free from your burdens," he sneered, a glimmer of darkness lingering in his eyes. "Not anymore," Grace asserted, stepping forward, an unwavering force. "We choose our own path now." With the collective energy of their alliance behind her, Grace unleashed a wave of light, confronting the lingering shadows. The power of love, unity, and hope surged through every crack, illuminating the path ahead. The figure writhed against the brightness, but it was no match for the light that had transformed their hearts. "We are not your pawns," Mark added, standing strong beside Grace. "We are free." With a decisive push, the darkness shattered, dissolving into the ether as the leader succumbed to the radiance surrounding them. As the dawn broke, Grace turned to her allies, the warmth of their connection pulsing around them. "This is just the beginning," she said, newfound strength in her voice. "Together, we define our futures, rooted in unity and trust." Mark leaned in, kissing her softly beneath the rising sun. It was a promise, a pledge of partnership, love, and an unbreakable bond. With the shadows finally lifted, Grace, Mark, and their allies stood together, breathing in the freshness of the new dawn. The air felt charged with possibilities as they ventured into a bright future. They each pledged to build a new society, one guided by the lessons learned from their struggles. Grace and Mark took leading roles in nurturing their community, fostering trust, cooperation, and the bonds that had formed from shared sacrifices. As time passed, Grace and Mark deepened their connection, exploring the depths of their love and the profound intimacy that had blossomed between them. Together, they found joy in the simplest moments, a sunrise shared, laughter around the fire, and the warmth of knowing they had each other. The echoes of the past lingered, reminders of their journey, yet they no longer defined them. They had become storytellers, weaving tales of hope into the fabric of their community. The swords, now resting in a sacred place of honor, symbolized not just power, but the resilience of a people united in love. Together, Grace and Mark would continue to forge a path guided by compassion, leading not just their allies, but all who had once been bound by fear. Their love was a testament to what it meant to truly be free, and with every heartbeat, they knew they could face whatever came next together. As the sun bathed their world in golden light, a sense of peace enveloped them. They had completed their journey, but love, unity, and the promise of new adventures kept their hearts alive.